continuing on my series of things I see at the shop frequently, and one that I'm noticing lately is a lot of people are, through what they've read or seen on various outlets, are trying to hold angle between their forearm and the club shaft, like hold angle in the wrists as long as possible. So, to some degree, yes, there is speed production from retaining this angle for some amount of time and allowing the energy to kick out prior to impact. Of course, there is a lot of examples of players that create a lot of speed that way. And it is sort of a hallmark of a lot of really extreme long hitters. However, it is not necessarily the most conducive to hitting the ball, let's say, under control. Depending on your wrist angles, basically whether you're a shut face player or an open face, which direction you trend in, it can cause a lot of problems with your ball flight. So I will show you a couple different versions of it, but the first thing I want to show you is a lot of people come in here, they can sort of get, after a little bit of instruction, they can get the ball to start drawing with a 7-iron or something. We work on various things. We can get the ball to draw. They get up to driver, and I really see a lot of people just completely cranking this down with them, and they're never giving the face a chance to square up, and they're never giving the sort of the shaft of the club a chance to line up with the forearm and get a little shallower, a little bit lower to the ground. Those things are really important to having an upward angle of attack with the driver and to being able to at least get slightly inside out or at least not excessively outside in. You're going to have no luck holding on to this for that long. The only way to hold on to it that long and still hit up on it, still kind of hit from the inside, is to do what I do, which is to excessively tilt back with the body and just at the absolute last minute, try to kind of scoop it through. So your swing will be very timing based in that way if you go down that road. This player struggles with at times getting a little steep on the driver. It's not going to draw. It's kind of low launch, high spin, a variety of different issues. It's a bit extreme, but I mean, people have seen that shot before. So more or less, that is a shot where, hey, I had the face kind of open at the top. I really held on to the wrists. At no point did the club have any chance of actually squaring back up. So it ends up coming in really, really open and produces a ton of spin and not much efficiency, not much ball speed compared to club head speed. So same swing, but you kind of compensate a bit, so you kind of dump it at the end. But again, it's not really what you're looking for. It's always going to be on the outside inside of the path. It's always going to be inefficient. It's always going to be a little bit spinny. So this player will often struggle with this number here. It just seems like nothing you can do to get it to not be outside in no matter what you do. Very difficult to get much angle of attack. Most people will find a better, more reliable, consistent driver flight by being more upwards on the ball. If we look at the swing itself from face on, what you'll notice, watch in transition, we have a lot of angle. Not necessarily a bad thing, but if it doesn't start coming out, this person's going to struggle down by impact. We still have a lot of angle there, a lot of angle. You can see that late in the downswing to have that much angle on driver left in the wrists, it's challenging. So earlier this week, I posted a video just about how to get the face to start squaring from the top. And one thing that you really have to focus on with the driver, more so than the other clubs, the shorter clubs, is that as you're getting the club face to sort of twist and square in the downswing, like we talked about, you also have to be letting the wrists unhinge. So if we're retaining this, I know what people are going to say. Oh, look at Sergio, look at this guy, look at this guy. We are not those guys. So we are not moving with elite athlete level of rotation and turn. And there's ways that a player like that can make that amount of lag work on kind of a PGA Tour level. So for them to have kind of this late lag that they can sort of like rotate, the face can square a different way with them. So we can't square the face the way an elite athlete can. Unfortunately, it'd be nice if we could. And the average person watching this video, that ship has probably sailed. I mean, you have to learn that from a young age. It's not a natural motion for most people. You want to have some gradual unhinging of the wrists so that by the time you get near impact, you actually are much closer to being lined up with the forearm and the driver shaft so that you can get a little bit upward angle of attack. It's very difficult to let the face square if you're holding on. Watch this cranking, pulling motion. It actually opens the face. So if you don't think about it and I just pull down and retain it, you're opening the club face. I want to feel like I get the shaft of the club to match up with my lead forearm as quickly as possible as I let the face release. And so it's good to overdo it, which I did, but overdo it for your first few reps so that if anything, you can see the ball really draw. When you're working on something like this, I would not recommend trying to do it the right amount. I would try to do it as much as possible. So getting quite a bit up on that one. Not too far up from the inside, but a lot more. Obviously, path changed by about 7 degrees there. And let the face rotate and pass your hands so that you can see a lot of draw spin. So as the draw spin starts to become more consistent, you trust that, your brain will be more inclined to swing from inside out and allow the angle of attack to be more shallow because the face is already in a good position. The club shaft and face are already in a position to make the ball draw. So if you're watching this in the first part of the video, that's really not you in terms of having the face dynamically open. You actually don't get steep across it, you don't do any of those things, but you are really holding on to your angles, you are really dragging it. For that person who actually has the face either pretty square or actually slightly closed dynamically, this sort of wrist cranking motion will produce something quite a bit different. You'll actually hit the ball, if anything, too low, so too low spin, too low on your dynamic loft, just meaning this is a 9-degree driver, but at impact, how much loft does it have? Coming in with a shut face here, and I'm really cranked, the only way to get this to work and get in the air is to actually start to tilt back, come really far from the inside, hit really far up on it, and sort of get your hands out at the very, very last second. So it produces a different set of issues. The lower the loft they have in their hands, the more problematic the ball flight is. When you're hitting a short iron, either of these patterns with the wrist angles, either of them can sort of produce okay results with a short iron and a wedge. Not amazing, but you'll get by. As soon as the club gets longer, you get long irons, hybrids, woods, and certainly driver. You're gonna really struggle with that. It's gonna expose itself the most there. And you'll kind of feel like, well, why do I need 2 different swings for driver and irons? You don't. It's just that this motion, when you have no loft on the club, is really, really problematic. It will make you do the most compensating of any club in the bag. Even when you hit a decent shot, the spin is extremely low. Yeah, so you see a lot of that kind of thing. So even if you get the face reasonably square, there's not nearly enough loft, dynamic loft on it to have a proper flight. So that's a pretty typical delivery for someone that struggles with this. They also tend to really hit the high part of the face. The same way the person from the beginning of the video, they really tend to hit the low part and the heel. This person really tends to hit the high part of the face. They're leaning the shaft so much, you're actually presenting this part of the club. So even though the path, we're trying our best to get it as much inside as we can, we're trying to keep the face open or something to make it work, and we're hitting up on it. This loft, which is loft at impact, is much too low at that point in the downswing where you just don't really have a chance right now to fix it. It's just got way too much shaft lean on it. We need to produce more of that kick out with the shaft to be more consistent. I already know that I'm going to get roasted by a bunch of know-it-alls in the comments, but I don't care. So this person literally has to, and I have this conversation with people all the time, I start to talk about this, I give them drills, they go, oh, so I need to cast the club? Relative to what you're doing, yes, you do need to cast the club. Of course, there's a lot of people who are here in the downswing. A lot. So obviously, if that's you, you can ignore this, pretty much this entire video. But a significant number of avid players that have gotten into golf, they've learned, they've taken tips, a lot of them have had this thought ingrained in their mind where they're here, and if anything, to correct it, to get it more neutral, where it is retaining some angles, but it's moving out through impact, you actually would need to feel like you're casting it somewhat. So these kind of swing, release trainers where basically when you get the club to line up with your arm, it'll snap at the bottom. This person literally needs to make that feel like it happens as soon as possible. So I'm taking both my thumbs, which are supporting the club at the top, and I'm pushing with my thumbs as hard as I possibly can, that way. So in my mind, the shaft lines up with my forearm very early. You can see how the club would not be nearly as high at this point as it was. It would also be tending to be more behind me, so it's going to really improve my path. And I can let the wrists rotate through and deliver the driver more neutral without all these compensations at the very bottom. If you have a mild wrist lag retention problem, you can sort of feel it snapping somewhere here just behind impact. And you have to stick with it enough to make that pattern change, because chances are you've made a million swings that way. You can't just hit 2 or 3 balls or hit 2 or 3 swings with the swing trainer and go, okay, my wrist pattern's changed. Like this is, you're in it for the long haul to some degree, and you have to really stick with it. And you have to produce so much more of that force than you think is necessary just to make it change at all. So up to the top, push hard with my thumbs, get reset and try it. Very different. 7 degrees more dynamic loft. Not that different on the path, really not that different on the angle of attack at all. Not that different on club head speed either. And the strike is a little more serviceable, slightly toe, but not as high. That was me putting forth maximum effort with that motion. When I look at it on the high speed, it's gonna be very subtle. So I may have felt like I casted that beyond belief. I obviously didn't really. But any couple of degree change in how quickly the shaft lines back up with my arm, any amount different. It's not much different visually, but it's enough to really start moving these numbers quite a bit. Yeah, very different. Very, very different. So that, I'd be happy with that one because it's online. But to be able to launch the ball much higher with a more reasonable amount of spin without struggling for it, that is the type of thing you would see from getting the wrist working a little bit better.